Hello, great to have your company. I'm James Preston and welcome to another edition of Executive Corner Expert Talks, exclusive to 𝐊𝐶𝐞 TV. In this episode, we'll be shining a light on Musgrave Minerals, an active Australian gold and base metals explorer which holds an advanced Q gold project in the Murchison region of Western Australia. Rob Waugh is the Managing Director of Musgrave Minerals. He holds more than 30 years of experience in the resources sector. And to find out more about what Musgrave Minerals is up to, he now joins me on the show. Rob, a very warm welcome to you.
Thanks, James. Pleasure to be here.
Well, Rob, great to have you here. First and foremost, let's get a bit of a quick insight into Musgrave Minerals. What exactly does the company search for?
So we're focused on gold at the moment. So we've got a really strong gold project in the Q region. So it's in the Murchison district of Western Australia, so about 8 hours north of Perth. So pretty close to that Great Northern Highway that links Perth with the Pilbara region of Western Australia. So in a really good location. There's more than 30 million ounces of gold produced over the last 100 years from this district. So we're in a prolific district and we've got a really strong project going there at Q.
Yeah, it's a great place to be, that's for sure. Tell us a bit about the recent success that your company has enjoyed with the Starlight project.
Yeah, so the Starlight discovery was made 2020, really high grade. So one of the highest grade near surface discoveries in Australia in recent years. So it's still in the ground. We have yet to mine, but very high grade, sitting around that 10 gram mark, the resource at Starlight, and only about 4 meters below the surface. So covered by a thin veneer or transported what we call hard pan clay. And below that, we're straight into the high-grade ore. So, really good discovery. This is a component of what we're doing in the region. So, this is one of the deposits. We have another deposit only 120 metres distant to that. And the total combined resource for us through multiple deposits in this district is about 660,000 ounces of 3.2. So a pretty good grade. And some of the things important to note, James, is that the average open cut mining grade in Australia over the last 10 years is roughly around 1 gram and underground only 4.5. So this is a very high grade near surface with quite a lot of it amenable to open cut mining.
We mentioned there it's only 4 metres below the surface. Does that mean that you're not having to use perhaps more extreme pieces of equipment to collect that ore?
Yeah, correct, James. So with that, you don't need to strip much off the top before you can get into this high grade ore, which obviously is where you make your money. So you're removing overburden. A lot of deposits, you have to move 20, 30, 40 metres or more of overburden over the top. Overburden we call the material that has no gold in it or no value in it. So you very little of that material to move before you get into the high grade. And so that gives you flexibility around how to operate, how to work that ore, and you don't have to move as much of that waste material. So very cost effective.
Yeah, absolutely. Reducing the overhead is always a good thing. We like to see that for all of our companies that we speak with. Now, how does the regional exploration align with the company's near-term production plan?
Yeah, so we have, as I mentioned, we have that existing resource base, but what we want to do is be able to grow that. We've had a lot of success in exploration in the near term recently after the Starlight discovery, and the learnings we've got from that has really flowed back through to this exploration we're doing at the moment. So some new discoveries we've just made, we want to build that existing resource base, and really that will get us to a point where we can optimise the decisions going forward about development. So we have a number of opportunities for development going forward, but we really want to stick to a path. If we can get to a path that will lead us to a standalone development, that's where we want to head. So we think what we currently have is economic, but what we don't know is how big it can get to. So that's what we want to find out. How big can it be? And then we can optimise the size of our development going forward.
We mentioned there optimising what you're doing. How do you plan to turn these explorations into cash consistent with the exploration success that you've already seen, for example, with Starlight?
Yeah, so we know that these deposits have high intrinsic value because of the grade, very high grade, very close to surface, which means that equates to high margin. So margin obviously means making a lot of money out of what you're doing. So that's what we want to continue to progress with. We're in a district with a lot of infrastructure, existing infrastructure. So roads right next door, only 3 k's from the project. It's a main highway that links Perth to the Pilbara. So that's good. We're only 30 km south of the local town of 𝐾𝐢 as well, a good location. But also there are another number of operating plants within our district, so there's also benefits from that. So as we talked about, what we want to do is continue to explore, grow that resource base, and then make some decisions about development. So two-pronged approach for us. We currently think the deposits we have are economic. So with that in mind, we're progressing some pre-feasibility level studies. So looking at long lead time items like environmental baseline, geotechnical work around design, hydrology. So obviously any new operation needs to find water, so we're doing that work. And so all these things take time. We're trying to really shortcut the process going forward, noting that we think we'll be successful on the exploration front. And we'll be able to combine these deposits that we're doing baseline work on at the moment with the new discoveries that we've got in the pipeline as well. So that combination, we think, bodes really well for us to get a viable operation in the future.
Absolutely. And you've made mention there about having a fantastic location, not only for resources, but also the logistical side of things, transporting what you do discover and getting it into the right places. Let's squarely focus on the Q project itself. Now, that's got significant gold resources. You've got robust infrastructure, which you've also alluded to, and a number of exploration upsides. How do you plan to leverage that project specifically for your company and for the shareholders?
Yeah, that's really linked into this decision about development in the future. So over the next 12 months, lots of work on exploration and the baseline activities. And this will lead us to making a clear path, developing a clear path to development. So there are numerous options for doing that. And it's really around scheduling and operational activities. So what we want to do is define that clear path, and then we can make a clear-cut decision about how to proceed. So we need to have this baseline information. We need to understand what else we can find in this district. We don't want to optimize a plant that's too small and yet have a lot of success in the exploration side. And we're doing that with some of the new discoveries as well, James, like the Big Sky discovery. It's only 2 kilometres from the existing resource base. We've had hits like 73 metres at 1.4, not too far from surface either, and a hit just the other day of 60 metres at a gram. So these are really close to surface. This could be the brink of a new discovery in that region of Big Sky, and it's just one. We've also had some other, significant exploration hits. Just recently, we announced a new prospect called White Heat, and that had some really high-grade hits within that as well, including a number of metres in the hundreds of grams per tonne. That's another one that's really close to surface. So we think that in that area, we're looking at about 4 to 5 metres of cover as well. So close to surface, very high grade, and some of the new discoveries at Big Sky, modest grade, but much broader and thicker width. So the combination, we think, of these new discoveries will help us in this development process going forward and be able to schedule and define the size of the operation we want to develop.
Well, Rob, it very much sounds like Musgrave has the Midas touch at the moment. We've also got exploration advancing quite well in the Evolution JV. Now, you've got follow-up diamond drilling and air core drilling ongoing at Lake Austin as well. What are your expectations from the program?
Yeah, look, Evolution have been a great partner for us. They're looking at the Salt Lake component of the work we're doing. So we're in a really dry, arid part of Western Australia, and part of the ground is just normal outcropping and subcropping and slightly covered areas of clay and scattered bush. And some of these areas are under the Salt Lake. The areas under the Salt Lake are in the joint venture with Evolution. So it's an 18 million joint venture over 5 years that Evolution will spend to get to a 75% equity. So as the listeners will know, Evolution is Australia's third largest gold miner, a well-known company, well-respected. So it's great to have them on board, and it's really good for us to confirmation of the good work that we're doing as Musgrave's team out here to have Evolution as a partner. So this is different to the resource base we have as well, James. So the existing resources we talked about are not in the joint venture. So this is new ground, but good encouraging results from Evolution on that ground. Some intersections like 11.5 metres at 3, 3 at 10, 5 at 5. So some really good, encouraging results under the Salt Lake. So a bit thicker cover in these regions, so plus 50 metres of cover before we get into the underlying basement and through the regolith. So It's an encouraging area. Evolution are just committed to another $5 million spend. So that'll take, when they finish that 5, that'll take them to a total of about 9. So they'll be halfway there, and that'll be in about 12 months' time. So, it's a really good position to be in. A number of strings to our bow now with 100% ground that we're doing a lot of work on in our own right, and the joint venture with Evolution as well.
Well, Rob, you've mentioned how it can be quite a beneficial partnership for the pair of you there, but what would you say is the main motivation of deciding to team up with Evolution?
2 factors really, James. One is that we were in a position about 18 months to 2 years ago where we just decided we couldn't do everything we wanted to do ourselves. We just had too much on our plate for a small company. So part of the process of trying to enhance and progress everything we want to do on the project was to get a partner in for part of that. So we were approached by Evolution, so they came to us. So we weren't outwardly looking to get a partner, but they put a proposal in front of us that we couldn't really reject. So it was good to have them on board. They're a really strong technical group, good background, good ESG credentials. So it was a good result for us, and we think a good result for Evolution in that it's a really prospective piece of ground, and there's opportunity, we think, in that joint venture ground to find between 1 and 3 million ounces, and that's a large target size. So fingers crossed that it all goes well, and to date it has.
Well, you mentioned there as well, Rob, that it certainly is a case of a proposition that you couldn't turn down. It's great to see there was no horse's head involved in the bed for that one, though. It was certainly an offer you could continue with. But just as we finish up here, compared to your opposition, how is Musgrave placed among other gold exploration companies to create shareholder value? Where do you see yourself sticking out?
Yeah, look, a really good question, actually, James, because the way individuals look at investing in a different light and do it for different reasons. So some of the fundamentals, though, we think are aligned with Musgrave. So as far as fundamentals go, we look at a good project in a good region. We have that. A good team, a strong team, a lot of exploration success within the group in prior history and recently too at Q. So my background is with Western Mining, so I had 17 years with them and then with BHP after that as well. So strong influences from the exploration space, and obviously Western Mining was one of the premier explorers back in the 90s, 80s and 2000s when I was with them. So lots of experience there. But apart from people and project, the other key ingredient is cash. We have roughly $20 million in the bank, so we're really well funded to do the work we want to do. So that is another key component. And the work obviously involves at the moment a lot of exploration. So exploration means drilling holes. We've got about 90,000 metres of drilling planned in front of us over the next 12 months. Drilling holes means results. Results, especially on the exploration front, has delivered shareholder value to Musgrave's shareholders in the past, and we can see it doing it again in the future. So look, we're in a pretty good position and a good position within the market at the moment.
I think you summed it up beautifully there, Rob. I mean, there's a wealth of experience from yourself. You've got the cash injection there, got your infrastructure in place, and there are plenty of exciting potential results from the areas that you're looking in. So fantastic to have a chat with you today. Best of luck with Musgrave Minerals, and hopefully we can catch up soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, James. Always good to chat.
Well, that's Rob Waugh, the Managing Director of Musgrave Minerals. And if you missed any part of that chat, or you'd like to browse our extensive catalogue of expert talks, simply head across to our YouTube channel, 𝐊𝐶𝐞 Media. I'm James Preston, reminding you to stay apprised and invest wise with 𝐊𝐶𝐞.